Hello. So yeah, so you can take a look at this. It's just like a Google Doc that kind of shows kind of the schedule, and you can see what we did last time. I think I'll do kind of briefly go over that, and then there's a lot of links to different resources. So I can I'll go over that kind of again, just kind of talk about what we did. Last time was more of a workshop that was kind of showing how to use different tools. And this workshop is actually kind of more looking at the results of that and some of the work that people created. And then we're gonna join in a virtual reality space together. You will have to choose an avatar, and we'll walk around, and we'll actually be in the same room together.
It's like Burning Man 2.0.
Yeah, I mean, this one, the sky's the limit though. You could, it's going to be a co-created space. I've already started playing around and adding some different things in it, but I'm going to show you guys how to also add things. So it's pretty fun. And then I'll show you the back end of the software as well, which is kind of what I did last time of how I created it. So, you can think about how you might create kind of your own virtual spaces.
Okay. Sounds cool.
Yeah. We could, get started, and if people want to join in later.
Yeah, let's
awesome.
do it.
But yeah, Nadine, Kylie, would you maybe just care to share whatever you want to share about yourself? Some introductions. I'll start. My name's Gabriel Kaprielian, and I'm an assistant professor of architecture at Temple University, also program director of design and innovation for sustainable cities at UC Berkeley. And the way I got involved with this kind of event was I was the American Arts Incubator lead artist to Peru this last year. So I was working with Maya, hi Maya, at 01, and then also with the U.S. Embassy in Lima, and our host partner, which was a UTEC. It's a technology focused university, technology and engineering university, and the Contemporary Art Museum there. So I was working with 25 local artists, architects, and activists, doing kind of similar exercises to these workshops, thinking about speculative futures and using art and technology to address those challenges. So yeah, maybe Nadine, if you want to start.
Well, I'm originally from Austria, and I studied marketing and sales and did design and photography in Germany, but recently moved to San Francisco for a communications job.
Okay, so that's not just a background in San Francisco just for the fun of it. You're actually there.
I'm actually there, yeah.
But does it look like that, or is it orange still?
It's pretty white. It's just like the casual Karl the Fog white, I'd say.
Okay, so it's no longer orange.
No, luckily. It was a bit like Blade Runner.
Yeah, totally. Kylie.
Hi, I am originally from Sacramento, California, and I recently graduated from UC Berkeley, where I studied global studies and German. So I'm a big fan of traveling, and I actually collect postcards personally. So I was really excited with this whole idea of making postcards from the future. Yeah, it's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. I'm also obsessed with postcards, and I regularly go to thrift stores and find old postcards, and I like to paint on top of them. And so it's like very analog versions of kind of the same thing. I like make different postcards, and we'll send that out for Christmas, birthdays. Yeah. So yeah, very cool. Thanks for joining. Maya, Vanessa, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yes. So I am Vanessa. I am the curatorial co-director of this event. I too love postcards, and I really mean that. And one of my commitments this pandemic has been to send people objects in the mail. And I love particularly postcards from art galleries, holographic postcards. Lately I've been doing more pop-up cards, but I really think there's something really kind of meaningful in getting that snapshot. A few years ago, I found a vintage store with all of these postcards from 100 years ago, which had been written in. Yeah. I think it's just really fascinating thinking about this particular project. More about me, I'm a curator, scholar, writer, working at the intersection of art and technology. I'm based currently in the Bay Area. I'm originally from Singapore, but I've been now, yeah, I know, Singapore via Australia. My mother's Australian, my husband's Australian, and been in the Bay Area now about 10 years, which is kind of astonishing. But a lot of that was doing my PhD. So that was a bit of a weird whirlwind. And yeah, it's been, as I kind of came out of that, I was really interested in moving away, or not moving away, but finding ways that the research work I'd been doing could actually really be used to reach out to communities, build communities, and be something that's not just kind of an observation. So this is very much in that vein.
Thanks, Vanessa. I feel like I learned some new things about you in your intro, so I enjoyed that a lot. My name is Maya Holm. I am the Program and Communications Manager at 01. We are a nonprofit based in the Mission neighborhood in San Francisco, and we also work at the intersection of art, science, and technology, looking at how that intersection can create social impact. Let's see. A little bit about me. I've lived in the Bay for 5 years. I'm not currently there. I'm on the East Coast right now living with family due to COVID. And thinking about postcards, I've actually been inspired by this little conversation because I've been starting to take more film photography. And with that, I've also been doing like this really analog process of cutting up pictures that don't turn out so well and turning them into collages. And I was thinking that maybe I could start scanning them and turning them into postcards, because I've also been doing a lot of snail mail. So there's something, yeah, there's something kind of like nice about the return to analog. And I just like a random thought that popped into my head from Monday when we were all sharing kind of our imagined futures was I'm thinking a lot about this like return to analog, a return. And I think, Gabriel, you and I had a conversation at one point around how like there are certain narratives and processes that brought us here. So if we want to see a future that's different, we need to think of like new narratives in order to get to new futures. But I also think that like there's something about creating something new that can also respect maybe things in the past that weren't necessarily like valorized, to bring into the future, maybe voices that weren't necessarily represented before. So it's just all been kind of swirling in my head. And I'm also seeing that someone who's maybe here on Friday has joined us as well.
Hi. As is the case with a lot of shared equipment, I'm not Kirti, I'm Anandana, but by default it takes my mother's name. But I will make sure that I change it soonish. And I've submitted 2 postcards, and I tried Sketchfab, but I think it overawed me a little bit, so I let go. So I have one good old fashioned postcard and one augmented reality piece, which is a simple QR code, but I'm looking forward to everybody's feedback and comments. And thank you.
Very cool. Ah, there's your name.
Yeah, I'm just going to change it.
Nandana.
Yep,
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. Welcome back. Yeah, I love this conversation where it's going already. I was just thinking, Maya, when you were talking about taking photographs and collaging them in this analog approach, how that could be hybridized to create digital approaches where you could even take those and you could rearrange them and create a GIF out of it, or you could create a video out of them moving. So that was kind of the fun with this like exercise of Postcards of the Future, is also both how you go about creating the postcard, like what is a postcard from the future? Is it just like a regular postcard where there's an image on one side and writing on the other side? Or do you use kind of other modes of technology to, use Photoshop to, create a collage, turn that into a GIF, create a video? is it something that's actually a three-dimensional object? Maybe the postcard from the future is, you know, kind of like a hologram or augmented reality. So last time I kind of walked through the process how you take a 3D object and then you put it into a software called Sketchfab, and then that allows you to create augmented reality. Or is it like a virtual reality, kind of like what we're gonna enter into now, which is like an actual space that you can inhabit, either with, you know, some sort of headset where you are fully immersed, or through your computer. So I think maybe I'll share my screen, and just gonna share what we created last time. So this is if you're on the link right here to Google Docs. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
With the Google Doc? Great. So you can see what we covered last workshop was we talked about creating kind of these postcards from the future and putting them on this virtual whiteboard space called Miro. And so that's kind of what we see here, and I'll go back to this in a minute. And then how to create a virtual reality gallery, which is where we'll end up in a little bit, and then also how to create augmented reality. So using the software Sketchfab. All of these are web-based free software. And Sketchfab, you can either create your own 3D model or you can find something and upload it and use it. So today, you know, we'll start with kind of this virtual reality platform or virtual whiteboard platform on Miro, and then go to Mozilla Hubs. And then you can see kind of the different links here. So this is the link to the Miro board. So if you click on that, that will bring you to this space right here. So yeah, these were different postcards that were created. And I think I saw in here, Nadine, yes, yours is in there. And Anandana, I see one, actually a couple here from, you said you had a couple in here, is that correct?
Yeah, these two, one called Ashia and the other is Anandana and Arjun, yeah.
Yeah, great. So yeah, maybe we could start with you, Nadine, and if you just want to like tell us a little bit about your postcard from the future in the year 2100.
Well, mine is inspired by 3 days ago. It's probably, yeah, it's a scene from Blade Runner, and I decided to spin it a bit on a humorous way, since California is still the Sunshine State in 21st century, but a different kind of sunshine. And my postcard is powered by the baby boomers. I think that says a lot. And I'm writing to my past self, and about like how I got a new gas mask and a hazard suit because they come into super cute new colors. And I'm telling myself that I asked myself if I already experienced the first orange day, because it's only gonna go downhill from here, but super exciting.
Yeah, I love this. I also created another one right above you that was also based on this. And originally I wrote it from the year 2020 because I was like, it's literally now. But then I was like, no, okay, it's supposed to be from the future. So I was thinking about like, how is it that like, what do we learn about like what's happening now and extrapolate it out? You know, I kind of joked here that aliens visited the planet today and decided it was not worth invading. What are the stories we're telling about the future to, in some ways, think about how we act now to avoid that future, I guess. Yeah, it's surprisingly similar to Blade Runner. Yeah, very, very odd. Awesome. Yeah, I love this.
Can I give a reaction to this?
Yes.
I feel like seeing both of your postcards, like, you know, being like inspired by Blade Runner, which is like in the future. There's something about like this orange day that happened recently that there's a collapsing of me of like this future and the present. Like it's kind of this terrifying feeling of like, oh, I thought this was going to happen like maybe in the next generation. And there's this kind of like frightening urgency that I think
that's happening. And I think that a lot of people are being spurred to action because they're experiencing it. But it also scares me that until we actually experience it, maybe people aren't going to feel compelled to take some action. So there's just that, you know, this collapsing of like this dystopian future happening in the present is very very powerful for me. Yeah, as a thought in the past couple of days.
Yes, this year has definitely made me feel that weird potential futures are emerging with the present.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it's not even surprising anymore, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's just 2020, just like we're used to this by now.
It was also weird that the air quality was actually not that bad for breathing that day, because I was also in San Francisco on that day, and like the day after it was so much worse, even though it wasn't orange. It was so much smokier outside, and so it was weird that that day was more like, it was like better in some senses to be outside and to be doing things.
So maybe we're gonna be happy in the future about orange skies.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Anandana, do you want to share this one? And all of you, if you're not familiar with kind of using the QR code, you can, if you just pull out your phone, and you know, it should just, if you got an iPhone, it should pop up, or you might have to download a scanner. So this is looks like a YouTube link.
Yes. Is it playing for everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
It's gorgeous.
Awesome. So I guess, yeah.
Yeah. That was really beautiful.
Thank you. So what I've written in the postcard is, we came across your prayer on a virtual walk in class today. I'm a cyborg lit major, and I'm co-creating love sonnets with my AI buddy. 2020 may have been measured in miles apart and masks strewn, but you and everyone else shall overcome. Birdsong worked. So I kind of imagined that, you know, this little prayer that I had made for friends in Italy when things were really, really bad because of the pandemic just rests on the internet somewhere, right? And in the future, I imagine that besides field trips in the physical world, we'll probably be taking like these virtual walks where things of interest may be gathered or picked up by people. Thank you for sharing that. And I just felt like if a romantic found it, what would she think of? And I just sort of wanted to send this kind of prayer into the future, which resonates back into the present. And those who are still apart from loved ones, I hope that they get to meet together. And since we were looking at resilience, I was looking at what I would define as personal resilience, which is, you know, still being connected despite the distance and the challenges that come from it. So yeah, that's the personal postcard. Then
yeah, this really resonated with me, specifically how I think during the pandemic I have definitely found solitude and solace walking around through nature, and I feel like I've been more connected with the outdoors than in many years, because it's a great place to be able to go outside, but also I feel more connected to a broader world.
right.
Yeah, and I kind of saw like the energies within this this video. It was really beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I just think the idea of sending like a video postcard is so cool. And I just loved all just the little like details that had been added in on top of the original video.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed that.
Is this your other one right here next to it?
Yes. Yeah. Should I talk about this one?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So this one is addressed to Ashia, which is actually kind of like an informal collective of homemakers, domestic workers, and myself. And we were trying to film our everyday lives in a bid to talk back to the rape capital discourse about the city of New Delhi. And the reason why I had thought of this project was because I feel like there are geographies of fear, and they sort of prevent women from being mobile and being more present in the physical space. And so this postcard is kind of like a sentiment from that experience. And so this is an image that I had taken of a woman just contemplating the skyline. And what I did was I added wings, and I added laburnum, which is very quintessentially Delhi summer, and sparrows that are now almost extinct from the city. Just as, women's mobility seems to be threatened, there are these tiny little birds as well that are threatened. And so I just wanted to think of a summer where things were different. And I chose December 16th as the date because that was a day that there was a very brutal gang rape and murder in 2016 in our country. And I kind of wanted to talk back to that moment and question it. And so I took lines from an Urdu poet, but because the people that I work with read Hindi, so I put in like a Hindi translation in the dialogue box. And the translation is, speak for your lips are free, speak for your life is still yours. And Faiz Ahmed Faiz is the poet. And so I write back saying, thank you for your tribe's struggles to reclaim the city and to be an unfettered flaneuse. Because there is the French word flaneur, but flaneuse is a term that is now being spoken of and presented as a feminist term. We women grew wings and can now fly. Delhi is no longer the rape capital. P.S. Even the sparrows returned this summer. And maybe this is sent to me by a woman who can fly, not just walk the city, but fly over the city. So yeah, that's it.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Really inspiring.
Thank you very much.
That's really powerful.
I wanted to thank you for the words in the prompt, which were about resilience, because I think it's very easy to think of a dystopian future right now. And I'm always on the edge of indulging that. But I think even though our struggles are real and seem difficult, surviving them, I think, is a beautiful thought. So yeah, and I think art allows you to get that refuge. So thank you for the prompt.
Thank you. And I think one of the key things for me in it was that it's about collective resilience. So I see this as a mode of collective resilience as well. The act of creating and sharing our work and stories together. So thank you for participating in that. Kylie.
So I am not the best digital artist, but then I was thinking about like visions of the future, and I remembered seeing this picture from a couple years ago. An artist had created this like view of what Paris could look like as a green city in 2025. I think, I don't know, feeling right now that seems very soon, or no, 2050. But I really liked the idea of like having an optimistic take on the future, because I feel like right now it's really easy to see just the dark dystopian take. So I really, like, in my text I highlighted like the optimism and like the invigorating like green freshness and whimsy of the potential future. So it's definitely more of like a utopian spin. And yeah, I love landscape pictures of postcards. So that's kind of where I'm at. There's a new Paris.
Yeah, this is a beautiful architectural image. I mean, as a professor of architecture, I'm always really interested in these speculative visions of the future that we could create. How like every act of creating architecture is some speculative vision. You have to have some sort of optimism that we can make better worlds. So yeah, I love always seeing these different visions. This is a nice one. Do you know who created the image, or was it a firm or a competition?
I actually pulled it up. It was someone named Vincent Calibal. I don't know. It was like, I can actually link it to.
That'd be great. Yeah, if you could put the link there, that'd be really, that'd be great.
Yeah.
let's see. Vanessa, did you create this one here?
Yes, I did.
Wonderful.
I can talk about it. Be happy to. So these are three. It's not the most aesthetically coherent postcard, but it kind of brings together a few themes I've been thinking about lately in terms of regenerative and resilient futures. So the back image, well, okay, so broadly to frame this, I'm interested in how we can help to understand ourselves as more enmeshed in the environment and the natural world, and really shifting our perceptions of that, and that impact of that understanding shaping design, kind of decentering the human and decentering particularly very old exclusionary racist notions of the human. So the front image is Octavia Butler, and it's an interpretation of Octavia Butler's book, Earthseed. I'm sorry, Parable of the Sower. And so Octavia Butler, for those of you who don't know, is considered in many ways the grandmother of Afrofuturism. And she was the first Black woman to win a bunch of major science fiction writing awards. All of her works are really engaged with kind of using images of like alien bodies or alternative futures to examine and redefine race relations, gender identity, and all of that. So as this year hit and 2020 turned out to be a nightmare, a lot of people were like, hey, you should read Parable of the Sower. And so any of you read that? Okay, so Parable of the Sower, it's two parts, Parable of the Sower and then Parable of the Talents. And it's set in the US in like the 2020s, where things have gone really haywire, and she's trying to, there's the protagonist, they live behind these walls. If you're privileged enough to like have some money, you live behind these walled communities, and it's just mayhem outside. There's a president who's kind of gone to power based on the slogan of Making America Great Again. It's really wild. This was written in the 90s. So it's this apocalyptic future that allows her, or through which she starts to reimagine a new kind. She calls it a religion, but it's not a religion, called Earthseed. And the vision is kind of radically redefining through social relationships, our relationship with the world. And ultimately the goal is to kind of go off planet, but very much about investments and redefining the future and kind of bringing up a new future from the ruins of the present. So that is a representation of that. And I think it's really important at this moment to acknowledge how much healing and work there needs to be done for racial justice in order to get to that future. So that's where that image comes from. The image right behind that was an image I found looking for images of deep time. And this notion that, you know, we don't only live by human time, there's many elements of time, we don't have to live by clock time. And the more we acknowledge that there's a whole history behind us that is beyond the scale of human comprehension, the more we can also get towards this understanding of things being bigger than us, and maybe kind of getting to that space where we can have more of a long sense of time. You know, everyone's talking about 2020 and as if this is the end, but you know, humans have been a blip on the history of the planet and the history of the universe. So that to me is part of this kind of texture of rethinking the future. Finally, the image in the back, I pulled from Neri Oxman's work in material architecture. Neri Oxman is, I guess she's an architect. I mean, she's many things. She's affiliated at MIT Media Lab. She's done a lot of work with kind of biological forms and 3D printing to make kind of biomimicry architecture. So again, this kind of notion of how can we get away from these human-centered paradigms of building space and making the world in our image, but rather making our world in the image of the natural world for more sustainable relationships. And then I wrote from my, to my jungle lair. I guess I'm writing it to myself, which is, I don't know, that makes entire sense. But I like the idea of being in a jungle lair and someone writing this to me. We listened, we acted, the future is regenerative, we honor our interdependence with the planet, Our built environments embody design justice. Our communities enact social and epistemic justice. Technologies breathe like trees. The future is easier on the eyes. It invites touching, clambering. It refuses easy answers. So at a moment when we are mired in thinking about the apocalyptic, I wanted to try and really refuse that and get into more complex, a complex way of being with each other and being with the world that we live in. And that is the future I hope for.
Thank you, Vanessa. I love how much depth there was in this simple kind of prompt of creating a postcard.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I respond also?
Please.
I'm feeling inspired. First of all, Parable of the Sower is so on my reading list and has been for a while. But I had recently finished a book called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, which is around Indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teaching of plants. And there's a huge resonance around future resilience, being around reshaping humans, relationship with nature and respecting that, we're in this mode of extreme kind of human-centric behavior. And we have all of this scientific knowledge that's pointing us to climate change and all these kinds of climate disasters, but there's this huge gap between this knowledge that we've accumulated and action that I personally think needs to be taken. And I think that's something that's really important in bridging that gap is what the author talks about in terms of how do we encourage stewardship? There has to be a really big fundamental shift in the way that we relate to nature, and we respect nature, kind of having respecting it as if it has its own consciousness. It's a being, and that just seems to evade us in a lot of ways. So I'm really curious and hopeful around a shift in paradigms that's going to spur us towards action. And I felt that really, Vanessa, the way that you talked about your postcard just kind of came up for me. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's absolutely urgent. We are in desperate need of a paradigm shift. And I hope these kinds of conversations will help that.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for sharing these collective visions of resilience and postcards from the future. So we only have about a little less than 20 minutes left, which is just enough time we can hop into this virtual reality space. So, sorry.
Just one question. I actually.
Oh, hi Daniela. Oh,
hi,
welcome. I didn't see you there.
I was not able to download it. I'm really sorry about that. But if you allow me, I can virtually share my screen.
Yes.
I mean, I still would like to make this postcard happening maybe afterwards if you're posting it or something. But I just wasn't able to download it, and I don't know what my mistake was, but I'm going to fix it. So here I'm putting my vision behind me. Let me just see if I can turn myself off so it's actually better visible. So here you have my vision. Where, I was going a little out into some positive visualization and creating a lot of geodesic domes. I think there's a little bit something cut off actually from the whole image, but I went into a positive vision. That's what I do. I wanted to create 2050, we all live in geodesic domes peacefully, and so can you see it?
Yes. I love it.
So and the image actually behind it is there is a painting in the background which it's my own painting. It's a painting, so I created over a painting another collage of different domes. And in times like this where we're living so a little bit chaotic, I just wanted to, I've just felt good myself to create a envisioning of a positive future. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Daniela. Oh, we have a question from Maya. Daniela, can you tell us about the figure in the back?
Well, okay. Let me just put this. I can actually just share this image. I painted Archangel Michael, and I actually painted that painting during lockdown, probably around April, and it was the image that, you know, if we're connecting with a higher of our higher selves, that we can contact those higher powers to be healed or be in healing or heal others or support. I mean, the whole image, because we were all confronted this whole entire spring so much with, you know, fear and concerns and loss and so many different energies. And so I just did this image over a weekend, giving myself a good feeling. So it's also a little bit cut off in the virtual virtual image here. It's a little bit cut off. It's a little bigger, but you get the image actually is extended. The rays out of his hands go further, so there is a lot of energy, light coming out of his hands. So going back.
Beautiful. Okay, well, so the kind of the last little space what we're gonna all join is, so there's a Hub's virtual gallery. I took all of the postcards that were there last night, and I think, you know, 1 or 2 this morning, and created this virtual gallery here. So if you click this link, which I'm gonna do now, and I'll share my screen, I'll kind of show you where we are heading. So if you click the link, you'll end up here. And this is our virtual reality space. And if you go to enter room, you can actually connect with a headset if you have one, or just enter screen and enter now. And you will also, when you first enter, you're going to be asked to pick a avatar. So you can go in here, you can browse different avatars, put your name on it, and then come on into the space. And you can see all the different postcards that were created. And then there's also some other random things that I put in. And you can actually go in here, and if you click on this, you can add different objects into the space. You can also go up here to take a photo. And you can take a photo of, oh, let me turn around and get a better photo. There we go. So you can take photos, and you could, you know, add it. You could add it to Twitter. Oh, there we go. I can tweet it. And then also, these are a couple links to other spaces. So this is actually a virtual gallery that was created during the American Arts Incubator in Peru. To visit that room, you'll probably need Mozilla Firefox as your web browser. It's a little bit heavier of a file, so it may not work. This one you could probably enter into. This is the summer program that I run at Berkeley, so you can kind of see the a virtual gallery that was created there. All right, yeah. So feel free to come in. The way you move around is if you press W. Oh, I see Nessa is here. And if you press W, you move forward. If you hold down on your trackpad, you can pan around and look in different spaces. And you can actually, if you hold a right click, you can teleport and zoom around like this. And the interesting thing is when you're talking to people, you have to get up close to them to actually hear somebody. So it's like having a real conversation. So space does matter. And of course you can say, hello, everyone, and type messages in case your audio is not working for some reason. So feel free to come in and join. So please also feel free to co-create the space. Yes, please also add more things into the space. So you can see here I'm going to the magic wand, and you can just type in anything. You can go into Sketchfab. You know, there's different avatars, there's GIFs, there's all sorts of things. So feel free to have fun adding in things into the space, taking photos, tweeting. Also, you can see you're muted as you walk in. So you'll want to turn your microphone on either in this space or in Zoom, but not both. Otherwise, you'll get feedback. So if you're in the space, you can mute your Zoom microphone and turn this microphone on so you can hear me echoing. Let's see, I think it stopped. Well, maybe not. Hi, everybody. I think that brings us to 3 o'clock. You're more than welcome to hang out in the virtual gallery space, and it should be open for you to come back anytime. You can also use this space to hang out with friends and family now. So maybe I'll see you there another time. I'll probably hang out in the space for a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if anybody wanted to say any kind of like last words or closing remarks here in Zoom.
These are not concluding remarks, but I had a question, which is that I had logged in yesterday, and I think by mistake, I spray painted 2 hearts on the walls. Were they still there when I left?
In the virtual gallery?
Yes, because I didn't know what was happening.
No,
And
you know what? I don't think so. That's funny because I always wonder what stays and what goes away. Actually, I created this virtual gallery that was supposed to be a little bit more official for in Peru, and I took some selfies and cannot figure out how to get rid of them.
Okay.
I think it's because I was logged in with a different account, but yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to know how you share the space, you know, because it just happened. I went in and it gave me the pen and I spray painted 2 hearts on the wall, and I left you a message saying, "Is there space for graffiti here?" And then
there's definitely space for graffiti, as long as you don't deface somebody else's work.
No. I chose like a section which was empty, but it's not there today. And I was wondering what happened. How does it stay? Like, how do you ensure that something stays, or do you moderate the space? Or what if somebody replaces somebody's work?
I'm not totally sure about that. I also was making modifications to the space today, so I'm not sure if I accidentally erased it, but I didn't see it.
Okay. It was 2 tiny hearts, but anyway, I just wanted to let you know if you saw it, it was me, and I thought I'd confess anyway. Thank you.
Can I just I have a quick thing. Thank you for this. I love the way this is organized. It's really accessible way to bring people together around these questions and these concerns. And I think we all need some restorative community at this time. And for me, this is very much that. So thank you.
Thank you. Great. Well, thanks everybody for joining today and last workshop for Postcards from the Future. It was a pleasure to join you virtually, and really thank you for contributing your thoughts, your work, and really great conversation. So I hope the community continues to collaborate and talk with each other. So. Yeah, great to meet everybody.
Thanks, Gabriel. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.